Now, Finland is globally recognized for its world-class education system. And as Europe grapples with issues of innovation, equity, and resilience, the Finnish model offers valuable lessons. And of course, we are going to dive a little bit into the border issue when it comes to Poland's new strategy, as Finland's perhaps one of the first countries to put the support behind the Polish Prime Minister. We'll be diving all of that with our very own Finnish ambassador to Poland, Päivi, Laine. Thanks for being with us here on TVP World.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
So first, let's start with the news article, because, of course, a lot of discussion recently surrounds Polish Prime Minister's new migration strategy. And Finland is actually one of the first countries to put its support behind Prime Minister Tusk, as having done, apply a very similar strategy when it comes to the Russian border. Can you tell us something about that?
Well, as you know, Finland and Poland are facing very similar problems on our borders, on our eastern borders, and that means there are hybrid attacks against us. And the migration issue is what we call so-called instrumentalized migration. And of course, this problem, it's very difficult. We have to take into consideration at least these two different things, and one is to protect your borders. And it's not only Polish and Finnish borders, but they are also the external borders of NATO and the European Union. And then on the other hand, we have to take care of people who are in vulnerable positions and take care of regarding the human rights. So these two problems together, they're very difficult to deal with. And we have been trying to do that now for some time. And as you said, Finland has also accepted a new migration policy. In our case, the new legislation is not activized at the moment. And to activize this, and it's also including this, that there is a possibility to stop receiving asylum applications. But it can only be used in case that the situation is so dangerous that is a threat for Finnish sovereignty or national security. And there a specific new decision by the government is demanded, and it can only be in force for a certain period of time, and it can also be geographically limited. But maybe you also know that in Finland the situation with the hybrid attacks is different from Poland, because in Poland the migrants, instrumentalized migrants, are coming across the green border, whereas in Finland they came through the official border crossing points. But over a year now, almost, Finland has closed all the official border crossing points with Russia, and this has eased up the situation, and we have had almost no instrumentalized migration ever since. But of course, it's a difficult situation to keep the long, more than 1,300 kilometers long border closed with Russia.
Right. So when the Polish Prime Minister first announced this migration strategy, it sent quite a ripple across Europe, and it was met first with a lot of criticism, but then a lot of more EU leaders are now kind of supporting, or at least being more neutral towards the idea. Do you think that perhaps Prime Minister Tusk was just saying out loud the things that most people are actually thinking about already?
Well, I think that in all over Europe we are feeling this very grave situation where we are now. We are having war in Europe, and that causes a lot of other problems as well. The hostile relationship with Russia is not easy for Europe. And I think that in many countries we just have to try to take into consideration what are the repercussions with this situation. And so far it seemed that in the European Council this Polish new strategy was received, as you said, neutrally or positively. And I think that this will still lead to long discussions on what can be done and how can we still support these people who are in very vulnerable positions. And I can just say from the Finnish side that our idea, of course, is that whenever we meet people who are in difficult situation, who are vulnerable, we will still be receiving their applications as always.
Okay. And well, I have the rare pleasure to talk to you, and knowing that you have long-standing connection with Poland, first serving here in 2007. Can you give us a little bit of insight on how has Poland changed since then, and what are the current priorities when it comes to Polish-Finnish relations?
Well, actually, I have to say that my relationship with Poland is much longer than my relationship with my own foreign ministry. In 2007, I came here to work in the embassy for the first time, but actually, for the first time, I came to Poland in the mid of 1980s, and I have to say that the development in Poland has been really incredible. I would say that from grey to great country, because in 1980s, I still remember that for the groceries we had the rationing cards in use. There were long queues for meat shops and other groceries, and daily life was very difficult. And now I look at Poland, which is a great country with great infrastructure, with modern solutions in many ways, and dynamic economy, and it has also become very, very influential in Europe and also in the world. So it has been a great journey for Poland in incredibly short time when we look at it. And I think that Finnish-Polish relations are today stronger than ever. We are partners in the European Union, but also in the NATO. We are Eastern flank countries, and I think we are among those countries who are the strongest supporters of Ukraine in a way of sending material and military equipment and humanitarian aid, but also politically being very vocal about how important it is that Ukraine will win this war and Russia will face a strategic defeat. So we have a lot to talk about with Poland, and I also see that new Polish government is very much looking into North and cooperation with Nordic countries, which of course is very good for us, and we can do a lot together.
Right, and on the topic of cooperation, of course, we also know that you're here and joining in some panels discussing about education. Now, Finland is known as one of the benchmarks when it comes to education, and I'm just wondering if you can shed some light on what makes it so exceptional, and what are some of the things that Poland, or to a larger extent Central Eastern European region or entire Europe, can implement?
Well, Finnish education system has also, of course, been developed for our needs and for our society. So I think it's difficult to copy them, but of course some maybe best practices can be shared. Finland is a small, or maybe not small country, but a small nation without any great natural resources. So people are very much in the forefront in our society. They have always been. And this journey of Finland in little more than 100 years from when gaining independence, being one of the poorest countries in Europe, and today being the happiest country in the world, it has very much leaned on education, and equality is the other thing. They go hand in hand in the success story of Finland. But I think that in Finland, the basic principle is that we want to guarantee high quality education for all, and I mean really for all children. And here the equality comes also into picture, that we want to have equal rights and equal opportunities for all our citizens. And our education system is based on the fact that we really try to pull along all children. We don't want to leave anybody behind. And one of the big things in the modernization of our education system, which started already in the 1970s, was the fact that we see and we receive every child as an individual, and we try to help them gain as much as possible within their own abilities. And this means that there was designed and provided special help for everybody according to their own needs. And this has, I think, put Finland in very much in the forefront. But it's also that we educate our teachers very well. To have a permanent position in education, you have to have master's degree, and this creates trust that teachers do their job properly. And it's also then when we don't take tuition fees at education, not even at the university level, it's like an educational partnership. So the parents and the children and families, they're not customers, but they're partners to the education system. And there is this trust between the parents and teachers and school principals and even politicians that everybody does their job properly. This gives a lot of autonomy for the teachers, and then they can adapt their teaching methods and how they gain their requirements, they can decide very much on their own. So their job becomes for them very inspirational, and that's how we get, I think, the best results. Maybe one more thing, Finnish education is not competitive, and the kids are not competing against each other. We don't want to compare their achievements, but they should compete with themselves only and try to achieve as much as they can. And this is also this has been proved by science, and this is maybe the last thing what I want to say about Finnish education, that it's very much science-based. And in the research, it shows that competition is not very helpful in providing good education and good learning processes. So we don't use that.
Right. Inspiration, cooperation, and trust contributing to the robust system that is Finnish education system. Thank you so much for your input and insight. Really appreciate it. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you very much.
Cheers. And thank you for watching this edition of World News. But for more news, update, and commentary, please stay tuned to TVP World.